Welcome to day 2. Day 2, this is our second day of the live portion here. If you're joining me, if you've been participating in the Less Stress, Healthier You event, we've been doing this for a week or so now. Or if you saw one of my little hey, I'm going live on YouTube, join me, and don't really know what's going on, wherever you're coming from, whether you're here live or watching on the replay, I'm just so happy to have you here in our little workshop and conversation. The way I've been the way I've been trying out these videos is this format that's kind of weaving together practice and conversation. And I think it's a great way for us to talk about some important things and to spend time directly bringing that into our own experience, right? Actually embodying these principles. So we're going to use that same format here. In a minute, I'll guide you in a simple practice. Then we'll start talking, and then we'll do a little bit more practice. And it should take us about 30 or so minutes today. So again, I'm just so happy, again, whether you're on the replay or here live, to have you here today. So to really kick things off here, I invite you to find your feet on the floor, or if that's not applicable to your situation here, maybe your sits bones on your seat, whatever is really grounding you into the floor here. Feeling into that. So feeling into your feet here. Just taking a moment to feel your feet, keeping things super simple here. Then adding on to that, starting to feel into your breath. Okay, now we're working today just wherever your breath is most accessible to you. So maybe that's in the air coming in through your nose and out through your mouth. Maybe that's in the gentle expansion and release of your rib cage. Again, just wherever your breath is most easily accessible to you today. Just being with a few breaths. No need to manipulate or change your breath here. Simply just being witness to your breath. And lastly here for the moment, staying with your breath and once again reconnecting with your feet, your sits bones. However, you're grounding into the earth here. Can we ground into the earth while being with our breath? Spending a few more moments here. Getting grounded in our bodies and creating some space for what is ready to unfold during this little workshop of ours. So if you've been with me in this event, or maybe just yesterday in yesterday's video, we've been in a few different spaces, right? And today I want to really focus our attention on this health piece. So really focus our attention. We've done some work on spending some time with, what lights us up, and that may or may not directly be something related to our health, but, maybe keeping that other piece in mind if you've gone through that part of those workshops. But today, Again, really focusing on the health piece, right? Really starting to ask ourselves, like, how can we cultivate some healthier behaviors, in these next days, next weeks, building up into the next months, maybe years, right? We don't have to think that far ahead right now, right? This isn't necessarily a planning session, but really bringing ourselves to a space that is, how can we start to take action here that we have the full intention of, making a sustainable part of our lives, right? It's the new year, and it's that time of year that's notorious for people making these resolutions and maybe buying a gym membership and being motivated for a few days or weeks and then stopping, usually because it's too much, right? Or maybe it's because it's just completely out of alignment with your lifestyle, right? Or your needs at the moment. So that's really where we're going to focus in today, is what sort of behaviors, right? What sort of lifestyle choices can we make to support the health of our bodies, and to do this, to do it in an overall healthy way, right? So mentally healthy, physically healthy, emotionally healthy, right? To cultivate these behaviors in our lives. Because, if one of those is out of balance, right? Maybe we're embarking on, a habit change that's very physically healthy for us. But if it's, you know, a significant stress and that's putting a burden on our mental or emotional health, again, it's not going to be sustainable, and it's not going to be good for you and your health overall. So, given that little piece, let's return to some practice. Once again, feeling into your feet and connecting with your breath. And I'm going to give you a few moments here in silence to be with your breath, be in your body here. And in this space, I invite you to bring in some ideas. I know you have a list of ideas for all those things you could do to be healthy, right? That's one thing our society is really good at, is giving us endless ideas, right? Telling us what we could or should do to be healthier. So it's bringing some of these to mind here, just letting them flow in. And the idea here, right? Maybe we can focus on maybe one or two ideas that are coming most strongly to mind here, right? Maybe it's a certain way of eating, right? Maybe a certain food group that you want to bring into your diet, or maybe a certain food that you want to release from your diet, or maybe it's a certain way of exercising that you've been told would benefit you or you feel would benefit you, right? Whatever the idea is, spending just some time with one idea, two ideas, at most three ideas here, and really just letting them land in your body, right? And feeling into, like, what feelings, what emotions are circling around this idea, right? I'll guide you here with something that's been, coming through for me, is just this desire to bring more fresh vegetables back into my diet. They once upon a time made up such a big part of my diet, and just the way things have shifted in my life, they have, for, to a significant degree, just fallen out of my life. And, I've found myself over the last many, many months being in this space where it felt like such a drag, like, oh, I have to go to the grocery store. Oh, I have to cut vegetables. And I've been spending time in this space these last few weeks, right? Doing this similar sort of practice. And what I keep coming back to is a shift here. Like, I am just so excited right now to bring more vegetables into my life, right? And it's like that's what's alive for me right now. Like that's what my body is craving. And for me, as I sit here thinking about all the different things I could do, right? I keep thinking about, for example, like I should get a gym membership and start weightlifting again. Like logically in my mind, that's where my brain is like, that would be a good, so beneficial, healthy behavior. But when I spend time with that idea and I actually feel into like doing that on a consistent basis, I just kind of feel this weight, this like drag. Like, I've done that before and maybe I'll do that in the future, right? But right now, like, that's too much, right? That's not actually what my body's craving right now. But again, going back to this cooking piece, right? Like this fresh, whole vegetable piece, like that's where I can feel the cells in my body lighting up and this craving, like, yes, that's a piece that's in alignment with my life and my needs right now. So returning again here, giving some more space for you here and connecting back with your body, back with your breath. I'll be silent here in a moment to give you this space. But playing with this idea here, right? Like what's running through your mind? And just feeling into how is this actually landing in your own body? So I'll give you a few moments here in silence to play with this. If you find you need more time, I invite you to come back to this practice later on. And whether or not you do, I invite you to call upon this practice, regularly and help, allow it to help you make choices, right? To make grounded and embodied choices. And I spoke a little bit to this yesterday, but I'll keep speaking to it because I find it very present in our world that, there's so much information out there, right? We really live in an age where we've been hit with this explosion of information, and it really is a true gift. And right, it has that dark side that is, the possibility of us just being completely overwhelmed. And maybe that manifests as feelings of stress or anxiety in your body, right? There's also the problem that is if we move through life ungrounded from our own bodies and our own experiences, then it's just so easy to find ourselves jumping from one thing to the next, right? One moment we're hearing that we should be adding a certain food into our lives. The next moment we're hearing we need to get rid of another food. And the next moment we're hearing about the latest exercise trend. And it's so easy in our world to just jump from one thing to the next. And that pattern, there's really good data at this point to back up just how incredibly unhealthy, right, mentally and physically it is to go through life jumping around in this way. And that's why we'll keep putting out this invitation that is returning to your own body and your own experience in this world to make grounded decisions, right? And we can move through life taking in that different information, right? I still love to listen to all the different ideas, right? But when it comes to what I'm actually going to bring into my day, into my experience in the world, I'm no longer interested in jumping from one expert advice to the next, right? Everything has to be filtered through my own experience. And of course, that's not me telling you to ever ignore the advice of experts, especially, if it's coming through a doctor or someone else who can really give you, you know, strong information based on your own body, right? And the tests they've done, right? More so, it's all about getting in the practice. That's always coming back to our bodies here, our experiences, and just making sure that we're not living life completely up in our heads, right? We're not living up in our heads, jumping around from one thing to the next. Okay, so there's one more piece I wanted to talk about today. And I want to bring us back to this stress balance piece. It's an idea I keep bringing up. I think it's a very powerful one. If we can start thinking about, what are we really able to bring into our lives in a way that's actually beneficial and isn't harmful. And of course, every, choice we could make, we need to be critical and mindful of, is this idea actually coming from a valid source, right? So if you're listening to a podcast and they're saying it would be beneficial to add in a certain food or eliminate a certain food, right? There's that piece that is being, critical of the information and making sure it's actually valid and isn't just some idea that's being marketed to you to make money, or isn't someone who doesn't actually understand, science or how to make, how to bring you information that's actually healthy, right? So there's always that piece. And at the same time, there's this piece that is, again, going back to, like, what are you ready for in your life and what's actually in alignment with your life? And bringing in the stress piece here, what I've found, I think, for most of us in this world, is that we're already under too much stress, right? We're already trying to do too many things. So when it comes to a time like this, when we're asking ourselves, like, what do we want to bring into our lives? I think an important first question is, is there anything, right? Do we have the space in our lives to try anything new? Or is the first step, right, is what you really need here to release, right? Maybe you're already trying too much, and that the healthiest thing that you could do for yourself right now is to let some of that go. So just feeling into how that lands, right, in your body, in your experience in this life right now. It's feeling into, like, is there anything that would actually benefit you right now? Or is the best benefit that you can give yourself is to let some stuff go, right? Maybe you've been trying a diet and it's been a battle. And what's best for you right now is to let that go and to bring more space into your life. Or maybe you do have that space and maybe you're excited again to say, just simply bring more vegetables into your diet. Or maybe it's a little bit bigger, like bringing a whole food group into your diet or shifting your whole way of cooking, right? Maybe you haven't been cooking a lot and you're really ready to learn to cook and get in the habit of going to the grocery store and buying the food so you can make your own meals, right? Again, just providing some space, right? Providing the space to feel into what you are ready for. So this last piece here, getting into how we actually build those habits, okay? You've identified that there's something, some behavior, right? Maybe it's food related, maybe it's exercise related, maybe it's a meditation practice or a yoga practice, right? Whatever this thing is that you want to add into your life. Let's talk a little bit about how we do that, right? And I think it's pretty well known, right? That, people love putting the numbers out there, right? It takes 21 days to build a habit, and you have to get yourself to do the thing consistently for 21 days, and then it's a habit. And there's certainly a lot of validity to that, right? If we can get ourselves to do something consistently, right? Making dinner from scratch every day, or at least like 5 days a week for the next 3 weeks, then that's a habit. And there's something to that. And also, there's this very significant part that is your own individual experience, right? And the biggest question to me gets to the point of how we allow this thing into our lives, right? Because I've been in the space where I'm going to battle with myself, that I'm going to make myself do a thing for 3 weeks so that I force it as a habit into my life. And it just never worked. I know there's some people that can do that, but for me, it never worked. And for me, it was never a pleasant experience, right? And maybe we're not going for the most pleasant, most joyful, that feel joyful, experience with this, right? There's a little bit of work here, right? There's a certain degree of work. And with that, there's a certain level of stress that we will be adding into our lives. The question is how much, right? And this is why I love the stress balance model that I've created, because creating that change, right? Getting to this question, how do we actually cultivate this healthier behavior? How do we actually bring it into our lives? It's about taking steps in a way that's adding the right amount of stress, right? Because anything we're adding into our lives is going to have a certain amount of stress, right? And the stress is a good thing, right? This stress is what is adding value, right? This stress is the force that is creating the change. But if it's too stressful, that's when we get hurt or burned out or decide that this thing sucks and then we don't want to do it. So that's the question. And the answer, right? The solution to how you actually do this in your life, it's not something that's going to be found in a book or in your head for that matter, right? Of course, we can use our minds to help us plan it out. And if metrics, numbers are your thing, that can help guide you. But in the end, it always comes back to this practice that we keep doing. That is feeling into our own bodies, feeling into our own experiences, right? So here's my advice with it, right? Getting really practical here. As we're here and still early in the year, feeling into, thinking into what healthier behavior am I ready to bring into my life? Spending time with it, right? Feeling into it, really, envisioning, is this something that you can see yourself doing consistently? And from here, the most important thing is that you start taking action. And what matters to build that habit isn't that you do it perfectly every day. What matters is that you take action consistently. That may be every day, that may be most days, whatever your rhythm that you're seeing. Doing it, showing up in whatever way you can. And that whatever way you can is going to be determined not by the plan that you wrote out here, sitting, thinking logically ahead, but by being in each moment, each day, showing up, being prepared. I am going to cook that meal tonight, or I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to go on the run. And doing it, but doing it to a degree that actually works with your body on that day. Not pushing too hard, because that's when we break, that's when we burn out, that's when we get injured, and that's what leads us to stop doing the thing. But still showing up in whatever way we can, right? And just getting in this practice that is feeling it all in your own body, right? Getting familiar with what is too much in your body, okay? Are you giving enough? Are you giving too much? Getting to know how this feels in your own body. Okay. Let's start to wrap up here. Once again, I invite you back into this very simple practice. Feeling your feet on the floor, connecting with your breath, and simply allowing all of this, right? All of this from the last 30 minutes, letting it land in your body, right? And just standing witness here to, what's alive in you right now. Did something awaken here? Is there a new idea or maybe an older idea that's, becoming stronger? Like, are you getting excited for whatever that newer, healthier behavior is? And if not, maybe it's the fact that right now, again, releasing, right? Getting away from the too muchedness that you've been in, right? Maybe that's alive in you right now. And just putting it out there, if you're thinking you want more guidance here, if you're not really sure, like, what you could do, what may be a good idea for you, reach out to me, shoot me an email. Let's set up, a few minutes to talk, and we can, I can provide you some ideas. We can work through this practice together, and we can get you on a path where we can really start building, right? Start bringing these behaviors into your life that you're ready for, right? And letting go of the rest, right? And maybe we'll end there, right? Letting go of the rest and giving ourselves permission. And this is something that we have to do all the time in this world, right? In a world where we are so often bombarded with coulds and shoulds of what we ought to be doing out here, right? There's an endless wave, right? Endless waves of ideas, right? There's always going to be people telling us, oh, you should be eating this way. You should be exercising that way, right? And can we learn to walk through life taking in what we're ready to take in, taking action aligned with what we're ready to take action with, and letting go of the rest, right? It's the only way we're going to make it through this world of ours where information is everywhere. So, wrapping up here, just quickly, I would love to know, like, do you like this format? Do you like this format where we can come together live, or you can watch on the replay? We can chat, we can have conversation, and do so with these practices, right? I think the practices are so important to actually make it an embodied and useful experience for you. So let me know. I'm thinking about doing this sort of thing on a semi-regular basis, whether that's weekly or maybe twice a month. So if that's something you'd be interested in, please let me know. If you're here and you haven't yet, I would love if you would hit the subscribe button. That helps me, that helps you, so that you're notified whenever I'm going live or whenever I'm posting a video here. I'm just so excited to, bring together all these different spaces I've been working with these past many years, and to bring it all home here on this new channel and in some of the workshops and other programs that I have planned in the future. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next space.